On June 27, 1976, Air France Flight 139 took off from Tel Aviv en route for Paris. Shortly after a layover in Athens, the plane was hijacked by 2 Germans and 2 Palestinians. The plane landed in Entebbe, a small town in Uganda located north of Lake Victoria. They demanded the liberation of dozens of Palestinians held in jails in France, West Germany, Switzerland, Kenya, and Israel. They threatened that if these demands were not met, they would begin to kill hostages on July 1st. On the afternoon of July 3rd, 4 large Hercules planes took off from a secret base in Israel and headed towards Africa. At 11 p.m., they landed on the Entebbe runway. No one was expecting them. The commandos stormed the premises and freed the hostages. Colonel Yonatan Netanyahu, the leader of the Israeli commando unit, and 3 hostages were killed. This spectacular operation put a stop to plane hijacking as a means for Palestinian groups to impose their demands on Israel. But behind the light lies a shadow. This operation also ended the life of my 20-year-old uncle, Jean-Jacques Mimouni. What happened during those 7 days at Entebbe would change my family's life forever.
Eyal, welcome to our Little Wireless program. How did your film Live or Die in Entebbe come to happen?
Well, Jonathan, Jean-Jacques Mimouni's nephew, has always been a good friend of mine. And years after our friendship started, he happened to tell me that he's got a commemoration for his uncle coming up. And I asked him naturally, I didn't know your uncle died. When did he die? Why? And he said he died in Entebbe. And I was joking. I said, well, that's impossible. I only know of Netanyahu. You're not a Netanyahu. You've been my friend for 10 years. Then he said, no, my uncle died as a hostage in Entebbe. And then I asked him, how? And when he said, well, actually, we don't really know, I said to myself, well, I've got a movie to make.
מי נהרג במבצע אנטבה? אז אני יכול להגיד בוודאות ש70% מהאנשים יגידו לך יוני נתניהו ודור הבלוך אולי. אבל ז'אן-ז'אק מימוני או פסקו כהן או אידה בורוביץ'.
The hijacked plane with its passengers lands at Entebbe. Now, the hijackers separate the Jewish and the Israeli passengers from the non-Israeli hostages. And Jean-Jacques had French citizenship, so he could easily have gone with the others and saved himself. Why do you think he stayed with the Israelis?
There are 2 sides to it. I have to say up front that I think, terrorists who are able to hijack a plane are smart enough also to recognize all the little tricks Israelis and Jews might have to cover up their identity. So they might know that Mimouni is a Jewish Tunisian name. They could have found out, they could have, said to themselves, well, this guy looks Israeli, etc., etc. He's 19. But the film is called Live or Die in Entebbe because I felt that as a 19-year-old, this guy had an identity issue. And I feel that as a person who had a French citizenship and only came 4 years before that to Israel, it was sort of an identity declaration. I am Israeli. I am Jewish. I'm going to stay with this side of the hostages. It's out of choice. And this is exactly the age to make such choices. I made it when I was 18. So I said, he must have made a clear decision. Am I French? Do I get out of this? Because many of the hostages released were Jews and managed to cover that up with another nationality. I think there was also an element of choice here because he was traveling with a friend of his, which we never found, and the friend separated and went with the released hostages. And we have evidence of the friend, shouting to Jean-Jacques, come with us, what are you doing, And it's like an element of choice here, live or die in Entebbe in the sense of choice.
35 years after Operation Entebbe and 1 year after my grandfather Robert passed away, it is time to open the wound and perhaps to try to heal it.
זה היו זמנים קשים מאוד.
זה היום הכי קשה שהיה בלב.
I know how the Entebbe crisis ended, but I want to go back to its beginning and trace the 7 days my uncle spent there as a hostage.
How have you structured the film?
Well, I wanted to structure it as a journey. I wanted the 2013 viewer to go through a journey together with a guy who was born in those years of the crisis, because many people born after don't really know the story anymore. So I felt I had to tell the story again, the basic facts. As you said, the crisis took 7 days from the minute the plane was hijacked till it was released. So every day Jonathan meets a person that tells him something about that day and also exposes a little what happened to his uncle that day.
During the Entebbe crisis, Amos Eran was Rabin's political advisor and chief of staff.
הראיתי לו את ההחלטה, הוא הכניס מספר שינויים, ואמר לי, עמוס, תראה, במידה והפעולה תיכשל, אני אגיש מכתב התפטרות מהממשלה. הייתי מאוד מופתע, ושאלתי אותו, מה יקנה המידה על החלטה אם זה נכשל או הצליח? הוא אז אמר, אם יהיו לפחות 25 הרוגים, אני אראה שהמבצע נכשל.
Towards the end, he will meet a commando soldier who would tell him exactly what happened when they stormed the terminal and what apparently happened when his uncle stood up.
הבחור לא נשמע להוראות. אני חושב, אני לא בטוח, אבל הוא שכב ממש ליד המחבל שאני פגעתי בו, והמחבל הזה היה מפוצץ לגמרי ונשפך ממנו המון דם. יכול להיות שזה נורא הבהיל אותו. בכל אופן, חשוב להבין שהתרגולת שלנו הייתה שכל מי שקם, והוא נחשד אפילו כמחבל, או יש סיכוי של 1% שהוא מחבל, אנחנו נפגע בו, ואני יודע שזה משהו מאוד כואב, אבל אם אני הייתי רואה אותו, גם אני הייתי רואה אותו.
Well, one of the things that he finds out is that the hostages were kept at Entebbe, that Uncle Jean-Jacques took on a caring role.
Yes. Again, I think this is associated with the identity. He was searching for identity. He was without a family. He was a 19-year-old guy. He was probably stronger than the rest. And the hostages describe him as a guy who was walking around, giving tea to people, helping, playing his guitar. Also playing Israeli songs in his guitar, being Israeli, talking with Israeli slang, being part of something, developing his identity. So yes, I was trying to avoid making another myth now. I didn't try to create another mythological character from the Entebbe story, but it seems like he was a very special guy. This is how they describe him. All the hostages remember him, and I think all the hostages were happy that his story was told.
At 3 a.m., the BBC radio reported the rescue of the hostages, but nothing was said about the hostages who were killed or left behind.
This is 1976. You don't have mobile phones. They didn't call the family in the morning and say, stay put, stay in your house, we're coming to you to explain something. They were already there early in the morning of the 4th of July, waiting on the tarmac, waiting for the plane to arrive. Now suddenly the army realizes, the spokespeople realize that this family is standing there waiting for their son anxiously because they heard the news on the radio. And what are we going to say to them? Are we going to create a whole mayhem now? Tell them that we killed their son? That's not going to work. So perhaps it was a poor decision made by a lower ranked officers. People, can you please go to the side with me? Something happened.
Alors, on est partis, ils nous ont expliqué qu'il fallait aller dans un endroit X. Et en fin de compte, quand on est arrivé, ils ont essayé de nous dire que mon frère avait une crise d'asthme, qu'ils étaient désolés, qu'il était mort. Et mon père, il a commencé à me dire, mais c'est pas possible, une crise d'asthme, on ne meurt pas de crise d'asthme. C'est impossible, il a commencé à hurler. Et moi, j'essaie de tenir.
This is 1976. My theory is that Israel needed a clear and very clean victory after the Yom Kippur War. And there was this certain attitude of let's, cover this up a bit, put it on low profile. I wasn't looking for like a 5-minute article saying, scoop, we've got a big scoop here. The government covered this up. I felt there was a reason for this. The same feeling I had with other national myths that I've been dealing with, that there was a reason to cover up something here. Not a bad reason, perhaps something had to be done on the spot. They could have easily have told this father the truth and he would have accepted it. It wouldn't have comforted him, but this was a father who, he could have taken it.
My grandfather was a soldier. He fought during World War II with General de Gaulle's forces, and after that spent many years in the French police. Maybe if he would have met the soldier that shot his son, and this soldier would have told him, listen, this is what happened. Forget about all the stories and myths. This is what happened exactly. I don't know if he would have accepted it, but I think it would have definitely helped him heal. I think it would have helped him. He felt that they were put aside.
RN, your world unfolding.